I'd like to welcome our newest sponsor, Schecter Guitars. This holiday season, go over to schecterguitars.com and see what high-quality goodies they have waiting there for you. Premium feel and unbeatable price. See why guitarists like Isaac Brock from Modest Mouse, Robert Smith from The Cure, and Ernie C. from Body Count all love Schecter Guitars. A wide variety of styles and builds with high-end components and affordable prices for touring guitarists. Built to last. Go treat yourself and try something new you've always wanted to check out. Schecter Guitars has it all. What's up, everybody? Our partners at Izotope are having a huge holiday sale. Go to izotope.com/deals to save 30% or more on pro mixing and audio repair tools. Save over $400 on RX11 Advanced. Solve the unsolvable with their complete 44-tool audio repair and enhancement suite. That's izotope.com/deals. These savings are for a limited time only. Don't wait. Hey, what's happening? Before we jump into the show, I wanted to see if you had any music on a hard drive. You have a band, you have a project, and you want to self-release your own music. Well, there's an easy way to do it. You can go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate and go get your music up on all the streamers. You keep 100% of your royalties, and you can get 30% off by using this code. It's a great, easy way to get your music up on the streamers and share it with your fans, your friends, your family, your mom, your dog, everybody. Everyone wants to hear it. But go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate, HYPHENATE, and send me the link. I want to hear it too. Send your mom the link. Send your dog the link. They all want to hear it too.
After Nirvana, it seemed like every show we ever played anywhere in the country, we'd meet somebody who introduced themselves as an A&R rep. The whole country was full of A&R reps, which turned out to just simply mean they were looking for the next Nirvana. Nobody was actually paying them. I don't know if it's kind of weird to be like, say, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and somebody claiming to be an A&R rep. I do recall one person once explaining to me when I asked him, "What about us? Why don't you try to sign us?" And he just matter of factly said, "We've been around too long."
What's happening, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to Hyphenate with me, your host, Randy Randall. On today's show, Happy New Year. Today is the first day. This is our show. Oh, God. Okay, I'm fine. Today is our show for Thursday, January 1st. I'm very humbled and honored to welcome the incredible band Killdozer as my guest for the first show of the new year of 2026. Michael, Bill, Dan, all took time out of their busy schedules post Killdozer, and we all sat down and talked about the history of the band and what they're up to now, and just the life of a legendary band. For those not familiar, Killdozer are incredible DIY underground Midwest band out of Madison, Wisconsin, put out insane records on Touch and Go, and were hugely influential amongst American alternative hard rock music. You can go hear more about them, and if you want to buy any music from them digitally online, I mean, you can always go buy physical media from the physical media places where you shop and do those things. But your local record stores, I'm sure we'll have a bin of Killdozer albums there. 12 Point Buck being one of my favorites. But if you want to find them online, you can go to killdozer.bandcamp.com. And there, I would imagine some of the money goes back to the band. But yeah, this is an interesting story. This is a story of a band, who did things their own way and really left a huge scar on the American independent music psyche. So thank you, Michael, Bill, Dan, for taking time. I know we had technical difficulties. We ended up booting this one over to Zoom instead of our normal Riverside platform that we normally use. But Zoom took care of us. It did it right. And rumor is that there will be reissues of some of their Touch and Go records. So keep your ears peeled. I don't think it's happened already. It sounded like it was coming imminently. I was kind of waiting on this interview till I saw more information about the reissues coming, but I wanted to kick off the new year with it regardless. So little birdie told me, or I think we talk about it in the interview even, that there should be some reissues of some of these legendary records that they put out with Corey and company at Touch and Go Records. So yeah, hope everyone is well. Buckle up. This is going to be a fun ride. And onwards and upwards. Here we go. 2026. Kicking it off. Killdozer. Hyphenate. Podcast.com. The legendary Killdozer. Welcome to Hyphenate Podcast. Wow, I am blown away. We've had a few minutes here to get to chit chat while connecting, but really thank you so much. I want to collectively thank you as a band for everything you've created, and beyond that, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to me on a Sunday. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Normally we'd all be in church, but
this is incredible. Yeah, Bill, the way we were able to connect is one of your family members is friends or in a school program with my bandmate Dean Spunt, and they got to talking, saying, "Oh, my husband was played in a band," and when Dean told me that, I was like, "What? You know somebody from Killdozer up where you live? How is this possible?" And so we got to talking more. He's like, "I could connect you." So that's sort of how this all happened. So thank you, Dean, for connecting me. But I want to just say again, just a huge thanks. But also, where does the Killdozer story exist as of today? I know there were shows in 2008. The 2006 Touch and Go reunion, and then the 2008 reunion shows. Is that the last we will hear of Killdozer? Where do things live?
Yeah, the last show we did was in 2011.
2011. Okay.
At that was what the day before New Year's Eve in Austin, Texas.
Yep.
Austin, Texas.
Texas.
Yeah, we closed down Emo's.
Wow, that location where it was before they moved. That was at the
yeah. Before they moved downtown into what looks like an insurance office building. So
I thought it was kind of like a strip club or something, like a crappy sort of like strip mall strip club.
Yeah, we did a drive-by. It looked like a could be an insurance company's headquarters.
I had the dishonor of playing that one. We played the old one quite a number of times, and then when it moved there, I was like, "Oh, this is very different." Films feels like the life got sucked out of something. And they put the corpse up on the corner. Like, okay, sure, could say it's that.
Yeah.
What did you know that was going to be the last show? Was that the plan?
Yes.
Finish this tour, and that was it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we knew it was going to be the last show at Emo's.
No, but for yourself, as for your organization as a band.
Well, I mean, we're all old folks now.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We've got, all consuming, I think what the kids in music call day jobs.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the Hyphenate program here. I mean, they like talking to people about, what they do, what they've done, what their life, that kind of existing. I think all of us as musicians at one time or another have we live multiple lives, or we wear multiple hats. And that's just part of the existence of any kind of creative in this society. You have to do that. So that's one thing I do like to focus on. It's kind of how does that blend happen, and how does that work? And you all are in a particular place, a particular spot in your career, and in music and in other jobs, that I think it's an interesting perspective versus talking to somebody in their 20s who's working a day job and thinks they're going to be the next, Justin Bieber.
I'll say we never said this is really going to be the end, but I think, Michael, you got back from the little bit of touring we did, and you're like, "Oh my God, I'm not doing that again." Am I correct?
Yeah. I think that was it. There was something about we did a 3-day stretch. That was the longest stretch of shows we did, where we went from Chicago to, yes,
Chicago, Minneapolis, and St. Paul, and Madison.
Yeah, we did
That's cool.
Chicago to Madison to St. Paul.
Yeah.
3 days in a row, and that was a great reminder of like how this actually wasn't. It's not that fun.
Well, it was fun when you were on stage. We loved it, but it's all the other stuff that sucks the fun away. That would be my take on it. Because it's great to perform, but you, as a younger person, that maybe was enough to keep you going and, you know, have you go to the next town and load up your equipment. But it would just, for us at that point, it's like, it's easier to just stay home and do your day job. And
yeah, especially, and then when we played in Austin, Texas, again, that was December 30th, not the 31st.
Yeah.
And I think the story there was they legally had to be out of the building by midnight on the 31st. And you can't kick people out of a bar on New Year's Eve at midnight. So,
God damn.
We closed it down the night before, the eve of the eve. So Bill and I and Dan all spent New Year's Eve flying home on an airplane. Anyway, on airplanes, I should say. But
everybody loves New Year's
Eve. We didn't get to go to bed that night until the time of day that I'm now accustomed to getting up in the morning.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely.
So it's like, no, it's not compatible.
Yeah.
And the
things
thing
change,
that
bodies change.
Right. And the thing, the job that has me getting up at the crack of dawn pays much better. So,
well, and that's the other thing. I mean, we got away from it for years, then came back to be paid exactly the same amount of money.
Yeah, it's,
you know, with adjusting for inflation. It is a little,
right.
Yeah, but not,
yeah. I mean, I've been offered opening gigs, you know, for $100, for $200 still. And you're like, that's what it was 20 years ago. That's what it was, you know, 30 years ago. That
may even be less.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe for exposure, maybe we could open for somebody who has a big TikTok following. That could be even more.
And, you know, so we did it while it was fun. And then, well, after that Texas show, I mean, the little bit of interest has been people sending us messages to our Facebook page, never really saying what they're offering other than, yeah, they'd like us to come play at, and it's never anything that sounds, it seldom sounds fun. It's just another show at a bar somewhere. And, you know, from the sound of things, it's like, yeah, we should all get back together to go play at this joint. The guy will give us pizza and beer.
Because there's no rehearsal or anything that we need to do. We're just ready to go right now. You know, that's the other thing. The commitment to do that.
Yeah. When we got back together for the Chicago Touch and Go reunion, I mean, Bill and I rehearsed over the course of probably a couple of months.
Yeah.
And then got together with Dan, who had to fly to Los Angeles so we could all get together, and you know, and we had to work really hard.
Yeah,
but we don't live near each other.
We did get to rehearse in, I think, was it System of a Down's space?
What? I don't believe
it. Was that what we did, Michael? I can't remember.
I think you're right.
Well, for the Touch and Go reunion show, what we rehearsed in a Quonset hut on top of a chicken poultry plant in Chinatown that had no air conditioning.
Remember that?
Well, that was a thrill.
Yeah. It was run by a man named Pops. But I think what Dan's referring to is later when we did more shows in 2008 through 2011, we did some rehearsing in Glendale, California, and the space was, I believe, owned by System of a Down.
It was a thrill.
I think they just owned it as a rehearsal hall for various bands, though, just to make some money, right?
Right. It was not their rehearsal space.
I see. It was owned by one of the more industrious members who thought.
It's not as exciting as when we once played in London in a pub owned by the Pet Shop Boys.
That sounds good.
You remember that? I don't remember that at all. I don't remember.
I do.
But I believe you.
Did they have records on the wall? Did they have posters up of Pet Shop Boys ephemera on the wall? Or no, wasn't that?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Michael.
Details are all. I'm not a detail man.
Well, this is a good segue. Let's go back to the beginning. We got a snapshot of where we're all at now, but in the beginning, how did the three of you get smashed together? You know, how old were you, and under what circumstances did this project hatch?
Well, Dan and Bill go way back.
Well, sure.
True. Well, I knew Michael in high school. We were high school friends. We sort of ended up going to the same college because we didn't know what else to do at the time. And we had actually been really into music in Minneapolis, and we'd go out and see shows. And we did form bands in Minneapolis, and eventually Billy followed us to Madison.
Yeah.
Am I right, Michael?
That's right. Yeah. And we Dan and I rented a crappy old shotgun shack of a house with the idea that we're going to start a band and we'll rehearse in this house. And it was on a street in Madison that had train tracks going down the middle of the street that was still used by freight trains.
Oh, so that's where you can make noise. No one's going to complain about a band practicing on the street with them.
No, nobody complained. It was a neighborhood full of like hippies and drug addicts. And us.
Yeah.
And then there was the other people on the street.
That's right.
Yeah. That's great.
That's right.
And
we were going to.
Yeah. So that was we started then in that house. I think we auditioned several bass players and didn't like any of them. So just decided that I'd buy a bass and play the bass.
What were we going to say, Bill? You were about to chime in.
Remember that, just about that house. Do you remember we were originally going to rehearse in the basement, but the basement was so moldy?
Yeah, and it usually had standing water on the floor.
Oh.
Well, water on the floor. I don't know what it means for water to be standing, but
stagnant, maybe. It's And what were shows like when once the songs were written and you got out there? I mean, what was the scene you were playing in, and who were some of the other bands? How did you find that?
Can I go ahead and take this one and then Michael, you can fill in.
Please, Dan, please.
So when we came back to Madison, we started becoming more involved with the hardcore scene. There was a place called the Wilmar Center that was having lots of these bands that were sleeping on people's floors. And we started playing in that same sort of like bands like, Minor Threat and Husker Du that would come through Madison. What's that?
Early on, yeah.
Early on. And Robin Davies, who put out our first record, he had just been on tour with Husker Du, so we had some connection. And it ended up putting out our record. And then we started getting involved more in the punk rock hardcore scene and playing those sorts of shows. And as opposed to everybody at that point was going really fast, and it had its own doctrinaire way of doing things. And we were trying to sort of smash that mold and do it our own way, which was playing slower. And right, Michael?
Yeah, and we also pushed back very hard against the straight edge scene established by Minor Threat. We established basically the drink until you fall down scene.
What were we going to say, Bill?
Wisconsin, though. I mean, you could get beer cheaper than you could get soda. So
that's true. It was Madison, Wisconsin.
True. And the funny, Minor Threat played the Wilmar Center, and they were by far the best of those hardcore bands. So there were a bunch of bands that were not that good.
Most of them.
But they were good. The big boys were good too.
Oh, yeah. We saw them. Yeah, they were awesome.
But I think the very first show we played was in somebody's birthday party in a basement. But I think
Danny's.
Danny Colleran's birthday party.
Yeah.
Where one of our roommates had baked brownies for Danny, and she put LSD in the brownies and didn't tell anybody. I remember that night.
Incredible. And then from there, with Butch Vig, Touch and Go, like how How is this? I mean, obviously the scene you describe more as this hardcore, fast, straight edge punk rock. Were you able to carve out a niche for yourself, or did you find other like-minded bands? What was that sort of progression up through there? I mean, obviously standing out in a punk scene is, par for the course, but was there hate and vitriol that was spun your way, or?
Oh yeah. People used to hate it. We would play. They used to hate it because there'd be a band that was playing really fast and playing more the typical hardcore at the time, and then we would go on and play really slow. And Michael was very antagonistic, and there'd be fights.
That's true. Once in let's see. There was a show we played in a steakhouse in Philadelphia where a guy with a mohawk was trying to pull me off of the stage. The stage being steakhouse tables that had all been pushed together, so it was very wobbly. And
there weren't gaps in between or anything, but yeah.
No, there was a carpet thrown on top.
Well, steakhouses makes me nervous. There's steak knives in steakhouses. I don't necessarily. Yeah, the cutlery could become airborne.
Yeah, this was very low end steakhouse.
Oh, okay.
Which,
butter knives.
Yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So, but in Madison, I think I don't think we had that issue in Madison.
No, and that hardcore scene was actually it got to be fairly open-minded, and they accepted us, and that's how we ended up, meeting all the other bands who were sort of on the edge of being hardcore, but were trying to take it in a different direction.
Yeah.
Like Scratch Acid and like Big Black and those kinds of bands who were sort of aligned with the hardcore scene, but we're moving it in a whatever kind of direction that was not just straightforward fast punk rock, which is great.
But we met Butch Vig very early on. I mean, we recorded our first record with him. Robin Davies, the Tar Babies, introduced us.
Tar Babies.
But that I think we wound up meeting like the Butthole Surfers and Steve Albini through. I think one thing we left out is one thing we were doing in Madison was going to college. We weren't full-time students, but we kind of dabbled at being college students. And I met somebody in one of my math classes who brought Steve Albini to one of our shows. And so we met Steve Albini. We already knew DeCroizen. Steve Albini put on a show in Chicago, a Butthole Surfer show, and he had us open up along with the Appliances from Madison and
Rifle Sport.
And Rifle Sport from Minneapolis.
Trainer's band, who would later go on. In Shellac, yeah.
But so, I guess that way we managed to start finding people who weren't just in hardcore bands. And the Butthole Surfers and Steve Albini led us to Touch and Go Records. And I think Corey Rusk of Touch and Go, he did a background check, which was to say, he asked the guys in DeCroizen, these Killdozer guys, are they assholes or are they okay? And the DeCroizen guy said, Killdozer, they're okay.
There we go. That was the stamp that was needed.
That was the stamp of approval.
And how was it working with Corey and the team at Touch and Go?
It's great. We still get paid, which is really weird.
That's important.
Yeah, those royalty checks, they come rolling in and keep us in our extravagant lifestyles.
What were you going to say, Bill?
I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, sorry.
Butch Vig actually got a connection to Touch and Go through us. So that's where he started doing a lot of the bands in Touch and Go. And that plus also, I guess, hearing our record is like kind of what gave him the foothold into where he ended up, basically.
Yeah, I mean, the cursory, quick Googling of everything kind of puts you guys at the nexus of grunge music and all things, that would go on to become the alternative music scene, if the internet is to be believed. that, you know, the records you did with Butch Vig would go on to influence Nirvana and Billy Corrigan of Smashing Pumpkins and sort of ignite you were the spark that ignited, you know, a thousand kids to pick up guitars.
If it weren't true, it wouldn't be on the internet.
True.
But from your perspective, I mean, how do you see it? What is the correct perspective on something like that? I mean, obviously in the time, you know, there's no knowledge of what's coming, but how did you find it, and how does it sit with you now looking back on that?
I can say, you know, we never had any plan to like try and do anything. We were sort of doing it all in the moment. We were just trying to be sort of loud and obnoxious. Bands didn't make plans to be professional or go do anything. It was just sort of, you were making sort of your statement. Am I correct, Michael? We didn't have like a plan for world domination.
Well, that's right. The idea when we were, you know, playing, the idea that a band like Nirvana would sell millions of copies of records, that was the most absurd thing we could have possibly imagined. That you know, so it still is to me. But
Ted Nugent sold records like that. The Cheap
Trick.
Trick.
Foreigner,
like yeah, Toto.
Yeah. So the idea that there was somehow, you could make a big you know, to us, the most successful band I could think of at the time was perhaps the Butthole Surfers, and that just meant, okay, so they could play in theaters with almost 1,000 people there. That to me was the height of success that we could possibly imagine.
And that sort of, you know, precedes the idea that, you know, everyone's going to have jobs while you're in the band, and then after the band we'll continue to have jobs. It wasn't as though the music would ever become the full-time job. I mean, was that something that happened in the lifetime of Killdozer, where Killdozer just was, you were touring so much and recording and doing so much that you were able to or wanted to shed outside jobs, or how did that work for you as a band?
I think we always worked when we were back home.
Yeah.
Was to school or working, you know? I mean, it wasn't.
It wasn't. We didn't. As I say, we had no plan to be like a big band that would be able to pay the bills.
No.
We were lucky.
If it was,
we were shocked when we started making some money.
Yeah, if we thought we were going to somehow become, you know, there was a way that we could play our music and become a huge success, well, I might have cleaned up the lyrics.
Right. It would somehow change the you know, the nature of the band, right? The art would be sullied or changed in some way.
Well, and I have sort of a funny story about when we were recording with Butch. At one point, somebody was saying we were getting some college radio play on the previous record, and that if we clean up the lyrics a little bit and have less swears, we might get, you know, even more college airplay. And I remember talking that to Michael, and Michael was totally in you agreed with me 100%. And then we were in the middle of recording, and then he put in like a 20 or 30 F-bombs, just like that.
I just couldn't help myself.
We were potty mouthed.
It's all part of the art. It's the poetry.
Yeah. So no, we were never built to sell out, and the concept of us ever being, you know, quitting day jobs and like living off of royalties and flying in jets was just never there.
But then you did witness that happening. And as it was happening, was there a sense of like, what the fuck is this? Why isn't this happening for us? Or what is that? Or was it still, did you have that understanding at the time as well? Or how did that?
We understood.
What's that, Bill?
That we understood what we were, you know, I mean, we knew we weren't ever aiming to be the big next kind of pop thing or anything like that.
Right.
We're not good enough.
And I remember, I do remember when there was after Nirvana, it seemed like every show we ever played anywhere in the country, we'd meet somebody who introduced themselves as an A&R rep. The whole country was full of A&R reps, which turned out to just simply mean they were looking for the next Nirvana. Nobody was actually paying them. I don't know but you know, it's kind of weird to be like, say, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and somebody claiming to be an A&R rep.
It was a gold rush. You know, I
do recall one person once explaining to me when I asked him, what about us? Why don't you try to sign us? And he just matter of factly said, we've been around too long.
Mm.
It was the saddest day of our lives.
Yeah.
That's the trouble with being the progenitors or the groundbreakers. You break the ground and someone else raises the high rise on top of it, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
Not for you.
So,
but did you have interactions with these people? I guess is that my in a personal way. Like, did you meet Billy Corgan and Kurt Cobain, and did they say, "Hey, we love you guys," or no? Was it not even to that level of thing?
Butch and I went out. I met Kurt Cobain when they were playing a venue called Bunky's in Madison, and we met and spoke with him. He was extremely shy. He was wearing, he had a little bag that was attached to his belt loop, and I couldn't figure out what was in it. And I was like, what kind of guy is this? And then he was nice. And then later, talking to our friend Tom Hazelmeyer, who has Amphetamine Reptile records, Tom explained that Kurt had that this bag was full of magical charms and rocks.
Okay. That's what you guys were missing was your lucky charms. My bag of lucky charms.
Yeah. I guess Green Day opened for us in Berkeley. But I don't recall if we ever talked to them. They were nobody at the time.
We said hi. They were like little kids.
Yeah, they were like the local kids. They were probably still in junior high or maybe high school. And, if we said anything to them, it was good job, kids. And
stay in school. Don't do drugs. Yeah.
And that was the show that we drove all the way from Madison to San Francisco or Gilman Street and got paid $5.
Oh,
it was kind of brutal, those first tours.
Yeah. I'm not even sure if it was the same show, but I don't know.
Yeah. I've done those shows, and that's the kind of stuff that really, at least for me, especially a number of years into a career or a band, and you start to have a family and kids at home. You're like, wait, I just drove 18 hours to play to 5 people, and it cost me money. Like those questions of why am I doing this start to become.
Our very first tour was pretty rough. I think we ventured out and played Iowa City, and then okay, we have 5 days until our next show in Denver, so we just went home and waited until that.
And drove from Madison to Denver.
Yeah, and then after Denver, boy, we have got to get to San Francisco now. We have no shows in between, and it's a long drive across mostly desert.
But to be fair, towards the end, we actually were having good tours and making decent money, but you'd still come home with like $75 in your pocket. No matter how much money you brought in with the booking agent and gas and whatever, you always ended up with nothing, or $75 maybe. Didn't matter how much you got guaranteed.
Yeah. I think the best, the most profitable tour we ever did was when we were away in Europe, and it wasn't because we were getting paid so much in Europe as like Black Friday, Black Thursday. Ronald Reagan crashed the stock market, and the value of the dollar plummeted, and we came back with all of our much more valuable European currency.
Wow!
So
you got caught up.
So we did well because Ronald Reagan, destroyed the economy.
you got viability through a technicality. It was the tour managed to break even.
Good luck on our part to be off making, European money.
Well, I like the European setup where they actually feed you a dinner and put you up in bunk beds above the club or beneath the club or somewhere. They can stash you. That takes off about $30 to $40 every day of just existing, eating, sleeping somewhere. There's a little bit more.
Good. Yeah, usually good food and including breakfast and
a bottle of wine and
hotels, which I've learned since then they were pretty low rent hotels, but from our perspective, we were high on the hog.
Better than sleeping on a kid's floor.
That's right.
In the States. Yeah. Well, this Zoom technology we have has given us about 3 minutes left, so I just want to make sure we check in. before we say goodbye, I mean, how do you find yourself? And again, not to be morbid, but just, the impact of Killdozer. I mean, are you aware of it, and how does it sit with you and the kind of the legacy that is Killdozer? I mean, do you have time to ever reflect and that kind of thing, or does it come across you like rather, the random email on Facebook? How does it sit with you? Sort of what Killdozer has done and meant to the underground sort of music community.
Go ahead, it's still so random, and we were never big. The other day I was at a festival in Madison, and somebody came up to me and said, "Are you who I think you are?" And I was like,
"Who do you?"
Yeah.
Is this a process server?
That's the level that then I was like, yeah, he did explain it, and he did think that I was in Killdozer, and he was right. Oh. And that was, one of those questions that, like, I think so.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. A lawyer at my old firm, so a colleague once, who's in our Washington, D.C. office, asked me, did I used to be in a band called Killdozer? And I just said, yes. And she just said, oh my God, you're my little brother's hero. And I still don't know what I did that was so heroic, but that's just a sort of random thing. But
yeah,
not really.
You don't get anything, Bill, other than your the grandchild's parent at pickup.
That's just a totally random event. I mean, that was,
yeah. That's about how it works. I was at Universal Studios once, and I saw somebody waiting in line with our band T-shirt on, and I was like, and I was with my son. I was like, do I break the ice? Like, I don't think he recognizes me. I don't know. But literally my face is on his T-shirt, but it was a face from 10 years ago and probably 50 pounds ago. I'm like, he's not recognizing me. Like, am I the celebrity who bothers the fan? And I did actually. What I did say, hey, that's my band. I like your shirt. And then I forced him to take a picture with me just so I could have the picture for myself, for my poor, fragile, dying ego. But
here's my last story. Touch and Go once received a letter from a lawyer representing Neil Diamond, demanding an accounting and royalty payments for our having covered one of Neil Diamond's songs, I Said, without permission.
So you had an accountant from Neil Diamond?
No, a lawyer.
A lawyer, okay.
Yeah, so they demanded. I don't know if it was included the cease and desist, but they wanted we owed Neil Diamond money. Touch and Go owed Neil Diamond money because he owned the copyright to the song. And I think Touch and Go wound up cutting a check to Neil Diamond for, I'll say, $465.
That's great.
But anyway, the point of the story that I was getting to before we were so rudely cut off by Zoom is that years later, I wound up working with that lawyer.
They remembered writing that nasty letter.
No, I always reminded him of it. Oh. He didn't remember. He probably made his living writing letters like that. But
yeah, that's fantastic.
But yeah, and I told him I reminded him he wrote a letter to our record label for copyright infringement against Neil Diamond, and he said, well, you shouldn't have done that. And I said, well, since we learned that. What we learned from that was that when you do a cover song, if you get permission, you have to pay the copyright owner, I think it's 6 cents per copy sold. But if you don't get permission and you just wait until they catch you, then at that time you owe them 6 cents per copy sold. So it's a great incentive to not bother getting permission when you're a underground punk rock band like we thought we were.
That's amazing. Yeah. No, I think it's more the publishing side. You probably owe the publisher something. But yeah. Who cares at this point?
But I wound up working with him, and he was always, boasting to me he could get tickets to shows like Jackson Browne. Great.
That's the real punitive damage he was trying to inflict upon you. Not the $400 you wanted. He was going to force you to go see Jackson Browne.
Exactly.
Oh man. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. It's really been a pleasure. I'm sure the internet will go gaga and be set aflame with Killdozer. You may even receive 0.08% more of a penny on your streaming royalties after this goes live.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to that. I'm going to use my cut to buy a boat.
There we go. Yeah.
A
thimble of a boat.
A toy boat from a bathtub.
Say that 5 times fast.
No.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for your time.
All right.
Thanks.
Right. Bye-bye. I'll let Bill talk about it.
Go ahead.
So what do you have coming up?
Well, apparently we're going to be reissuing 12-point buck on, I believe, on vinyl. Corey talked to us about it and said, hey, that'd be a good idea. We should do that. So he said, yeah, that sounds fine. And he did it. So,
and I know it's been remastered. So Dan listened to the test pressings. Only Dan, I think Dan's the only one among us that has a record player. So he had the responsibility to listen to the test pressings.
Great. And do you know when that's hitting the store shelves?
Do not.
Okay. But look for it.
Touch and Go can tell you.
Well, it's on Touch and Go.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody go to Touch and Go Records.
And hopefully it'll allow Bill and I to buy boats.
Yes.
Real boats.
Yeah. We have a boat in the desert where I live.
That'll be perfect. Well, that's great. I'm really glad. I'm glad everything's, that record's going to be back in print. I think it's still so important to have this physical media. You never know when the next, streaming apocalypse will just come crashing down. We're going back to reading books with candles.
Right.
So, yeah. All right. Well, fantastic. Thank you again so much. I appreciate it. Everybody go to Touch and Go Records and buy the new 12-point buck reissue.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you.
All right. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Thanks again. All right. Well, hey, wasn't that something? Thank you, Michael, Bill, Dan, for putting up with all our technical difficulties right when we started getting into the Neil Diamond story. I think the legal representation for Neil Diamond shut down our feed. We didn't want this information going out over the airwaves, but we rebooted the mainframe and managed to push through to the other side to get the news out there, to get the story documented digitally and distributed. Yeah, hope everybody is ready for a new year. 2026 is going to hit us in the face starting today being our first face hitting of 2026. You can go to touchandgorecords.com and buy all the records from Killdozer. They have them there. I don't know if this is the official big reissue. It doesn't say anything about it being a reissue or not, but it's available for purchase there. 12-point buck is available on touchandgorecords.com. You can also go to Bandcamp and buy music from Killdozer directly on Bandcamp. That's killdozer.bandcamp.com. And what a way to kick off a new year. I've always been a fan, and it was really exciting to sit down and chat with these folks. I feel like there was a way of looking into the future with Killdozer, or at least a way of seeing how these trailblazers continue to blaze trails and stay punk, in this world that we live in, the oppressiveness and generally meat grinding of the world. The Killdozer leads the way. All right. See everybody on Monday. Have a good weekend. Don't blow your fingers off with firecrackers. Or I guess if you already did, that would have been last night. You'd have blown them off already. So I hope all your stumps are healing, and we'll see you in the new year.
Butch and I went out. I met Kurt Cobain when they were playing a venue called Bunky's in Madison, and we met and spoke with him. He was extremely shy. He was wearing, he had a little bag that was attached to his belt loop, and I couldn't figure out what was in it. And I was like, what kind of guy is this? And then he was nice. And then later, talking to our friend Tom Hazelmeyer, who has Amphetamine Reptile records. Tom explained that Kurt had that this bag was full of magical charms and rocks,